Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to talk about the role of the government in the economy of America. So to start with, America points to its free enterprise system as a model for other nations. The country's economic success seems to validate the view that economy operates best when government leaves business and individuals to succeed or fail on their own merits in open. But exactly how free is business in America free enterprise system? The answer is not completely. A complex web of government regulations shape many aspects of business operations. Every year, the government produces thousands of pages of new regulations, often spelling out in painstaking detail exactly what business can and cannot do. The American approach to government regulation is far from settled. However, in recent years, regulations have grown tighter in some areas and been relaxed in others. Indeed, one enduring theme of recent American economic history has been a continuous debate about when and how extensively government should intervene in business affairs. Laissez-faire versus government intervention. Historically, the US government policy toward business was summed up by French term laissez-faire, leave it alone. The concept came from the economic theories of Adam Smith, the 18th century Scot, whose writings greatly influenced the growth of American capitalism. Smith believed that private interest should have a free rein. As long as markets were free and competitive, he said, the actions of private individuals were free, motivated by self-interest, would work together for greater good of society. Smith did not favor some forms of government intervention, mainly to establish ground rules for free enterprise. But it was his advocacy of laissez-faire practices that earned him favor in America, a country built on faith in the individual and distrust of authority. Laissez-faire practices have not prevented private interest from turning to the government for help on numerous occasions. However, railroad companies accepted grants of land and public subsidies in the 19th century. Industries facing strong competition from abroad have long appealed for protection through trade policy. American ahead almost totally in private hands as benefits from government assistance. Many other industries also have sought and received and ranging from tax breaks to outright subsidies from the government. Government regulations of private industry can be divided into two categories: economic regulation and social regulation. Economic regulation seeks primarily to control prices, designed in theory to protect consumers and certain companies, usually small businesses, from more powerful companies. This often is justified on the grounds that fully competitive market conditions do not exist and therefore cannot provide such protections themselves. In many cases, however, economic regulations were developed to protect companies from what they described as destructive competition with each other. Social regulation, on the other hand, promotes objectives that are not economic, such as safer workplaces or cleaner environment. Social regulations seek to discourage or prohibit harmful corporate behavior or to encourage behavior deemed socially desirable. The government controls smokestack emissions from factories, for instance, and it provides tax breaks to companies that offer their employees health and retirement benefits that meet certain standards. American history has seen the pendulum swing repeatedly between laissez-faire principles and demands for government regulation of both types. For the last 25 years, liberals and conservatives alike have sought to reduce or eliminate some categories of economic regulation, agreeing that the regulation wrongly protected companies from competition at the expense of consumers. Political leaders have had much sharper differences over social regulation. However, liberals have been much more likely to favor government intervention that promotes a variety of non-economic objectives, while conservatives have been more likely to see it an institution that makes business less competitive and less efficient. Now about growth of government intervention. In the early days of United States government leaders largely refrained from regulating business. As the 20th century approached, however, the consolidation of US industry into increasingly powerful corporation spurred government intervention to protect small business and consumers. In 1890, Congress enacted the Sherman Antitrust Act, a law designed to restore competition and free enterprise by breaking up monopolies. In 1906, it passed laws to ensure that food and drugs were correctly labeled and that meat was inspected before being sold. In 1913, the government established a new federal banking system, the Federal Reserve, to regulate the nation's money supply and to place some controls on banking activities. The largest changes in the government's role occurred during the New Deal, President Franklin D. Roosevelt response to the Great Depression. During this period in the 1930s, the United States endured the worst business crisis and the highest rate of unemployment in its history. Many Americans concluded that unfettered capitalism had failed, so they looked to government to ease hardships and reduce what appeals to be self-destructive competition. Roosevelt and the Congress enacted a host of new laws that gave government the power to intervene in the economy. Among other things, these laws regulated sales of stock, recognized the right of workers to form unions, set rules for wages and hours, provided cash benefits to unemployment and retirement become for the elderly, established farms subsides, issued bank deposits, and created a massive regional development authority in the Tennessee Valley. Many more laws and regulations have been enacted since the 1930s to protect workers and consumers further. It is against the law for employees to discriminate in hiring on the basis of age, sex, race, or religious belief. Child labor generally is forbidden. Independent labor unions are granted the right to organize, bargain, and strike. The government issues and enforces workplace safety and health codes. Nearly every product sold in the United States is affected by some kind of government regulation. Food manufacturers must tell exactly what is in a can or box or jar. No drug can be sold until it's thoroughly tested. Automobiles must be built according to safety standards and must meet pollution standards. Prices for goods must be clearly marketed and advertised cannot mislead consumers. So that was about the role of government in the economy. Thank you for watching my video. Hit the subscribe button, also notification bell, and press the like. Bye.